Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Glad we can be here in person now. Thank you. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher tsar. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher. V'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal, lo lefached. V'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal, lo lefached. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher tsar. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher. V'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal, lo lefached. V'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal, lo lefached. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher tsar. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar meod. Kol haolam hu gesher.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service. We're glad to see so many of you that have come up and said, well, we've seen you virtual for so long. We still see all of you, yes, but it's nice to see you in person. And next year, we will not mess with the calendar. I know a lot of you thought the first weekend of August, Mountaintop. During COVID, someone snuck in a bar mitzvah because we didn't think that we would be doing anything. So next year, first week of August, it will be. We'll send out that calendar right away so you can see when we have our big summer services, but it's wonderful to see so many of you. And we have, for our candle lighting, was there someone who would like to come up that hasn't? You're welcome back. Usually when a guest comes like Shimon and it was able to speak with all of us and all that, we'd like to say thank you to him. He said thank you to us, and he brought us a Kiddush cup and candlesticks. So who would like to be our initiate? I'm sorry?
But not with a brand new set of...
Oh, please come up. That's
anyone, and as many people as would like to come.
the nice
please
thing
do.
about it is.
Thank you, Sunny, and anyone who would like to join her, please come. Thank you, Joyce. Anyone else, come on up. I'll sing it. You can just, thank you, yes.
May the
Beautiful.
Shabbat candles that we now light inspire us to see justly and gently and to look honestly and with kindness to see what's holy in each other.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
We turn in our prayer books to page 4, at the bottom of the page. Hine ma tov, how good and pleasant it is to be together.
And you know, I wish we had an ambient mic in the room because those of you who are watching online can't hear. Thanks, Patrick. Can't hear how full this room is of the sounds of the voices of all our friends and neighbors and loved ones. And let me tell you, tonight it's strong. Tonight it's strong. So please turn, say Shabbat Shalom, introduce yourself to someone who's sitting nearby. They are singers tonight. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, 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 shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shavet achim gam yachad.
I thought it was safe to put that up and see the beautiful outdoors, but I don't want to blind you we'll wait until later in the service. The tradition is always after Hine ma tov, you bring it back down?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
That's our minchag here.
Okay. Page 8 at the bottom of the page as we continue with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. The satisfaction of celebrating Shabbat hearten our spirits, and let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer to bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. The space we share become our place of devotion, glowing with reverence and filled with our traditions. May the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions and let us look ahead toward the new week, be worthy of all of God's blessings. The top of page 8 is we welcome the angels of peace. Join together, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Vihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Vihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Vihi
We turn to page 12, and just as the pilgrims were arriving in Jerusalem, they lifted their eyes to the mountains and said, Asa Einai, I lift my eyes from the mountains, from where does my help come? Page 12, we join together.
Asa Einai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Asa Einai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, Oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, Oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Asa Einai el
harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Asa Einai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, Oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, Oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Yes, we have our High Holy Day choir right here.
Kidding, I'm expecting you all there.
Well, as we turn back now to the 16th century, to Tzfat, we look at the center of Jewish mysticism, and here Shlomo Alkabetz wrote the beautiful song of Lecha Dodi, Come My Beloved, the Sabbath Bride, top of page 16 as we join with the cantor.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmiyanu el haveyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei
Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela.
Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki hi mekor ha'miracha, mirash mikedem nisucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzvi mitoch ha'avlecha, rav lach shevet be'emet halacha, vehu yachmol aleichem lecha dodi, likrat kala.
Pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. The bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzala, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, la lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei
Pene pene Shabbat nikavela. You may be seated. There are all kinds of stories that surround Psalm 92. Some of them are the more normal and regular ones where they say this was first recited at the first temple. But the one midrash that I like, and we have to believe this, where the rabbis said that Psalm 92 was first recited by Adam and Eve. Not a lot of evidence, but this is what they said was. But they said when Shabbat came, it was the onset of Shabbat, this is Friday night, that this was the way that they were going to praise the Sabbath day with Psalm 92. So we'll go back 5,000 years into history and join together Tzaddik Tamar, the bottom of page 20.
Tzaddik Tamar Yifrach Ke'eres Bavanan Yizgen Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenun Beseva Deshenim Bera'ananim Yehiyu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Zuri Velo Avlatabo.
It seems for all those weeks of the 60-something weeks that we were recording our services, it was fun to see who was logging on the side to say welcome from wherever you were. Certainly the Ross family was there all the time, and we were glad to have you. We've got you live now, so we'd like to have you read on page 23. You might remember his famous face. He sounded shofar for us last year, which we recorded, and we'll get you to come back another. I promised him, I said, you can come onto the stage, the Gerald Ford Amphitheater, if you would just leave Houston.
I wish I could.
If you'd lead us responsibly. We're on page 23. Page 23 responsibly.
Just for today,
It's on. They'll
You
adjust
just
it
have
for
to
you.
super point it at your mouth.
just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once.
Just for today, I will live.
Afraid, life, death. Happy.
People are
People
as
are
happy
happy.
as they make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today,
I will be agreeable,
cheerful,
charitable.
do my best to praise people for what they can do. Not criticize them for what they cannot do. And if I find fault, I'll forgive
I will
it,
forgive it.
forget it.
Forget it.
I'll
I
try
will
not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I will get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I'll appreciate them for what they do,
what they do.
what they are.
Just for today, I will not show if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
Thank you. Thank you. So we turn to page 24 and rise. We'll continue with our call to worship and join in the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la.
Amivara, Amivara, Le'olam Vaed. You may be seated. As we turn to page 28 at the top of the page, the author of this prayer took the words of both Moses and Joshua and made what was said 3,000 years ago, I think so relevant for all of us today. When there's darkness, we pray that God provides protection until the sun rises once again in the morning. The top of page 28 as we join together.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha avta, Amcha avta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadata, Otanu lemadata. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu, uvkulenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam moed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negei yomam v'layla, negei yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael.
And as we now recite the Shema together, we link ourselves to all generations of Jews throughout the world. Continue with the cantor at the top of page 30.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod,
Malchuto le'olam vaed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavcha uvchol nafshecha, uvechol meotecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinatam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'beitecha, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha, ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The top of page 33, when I wrote this prayer called May We Have Just Enough, We really have to think about that when it's almost like a Dayenu prayer. It would be just enough if we had the beauty that we were surrounded with. And as we read this, think about some of these things that we talk about, of all the things that we just had enough, and I think most of us do here, that we can appreciate. We don't need that much more when we're surrounded by such beauty here. The top of page 33 as we continue responsively. Source of all goodness, as we join together in prayer, we reflect on the blessings that are always within our reach. May we feel healthy enough to arise in the morning and enjoy all that this beautiful valley gives us each day. May we have enough wealth to be able to take care of our own needs and compassion enough to share our abundance with others. May we have enough wisdom to recognize our own faults, not blaming others, but working toward being that better person. May we have enough patience to not easily become disheartened, knowing that with faith in the future, tomorrow will be a better day. We join together the middle of page 32. Micha Mocha.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Ya lai la lai lai. Yai lai ya la lai. Yai la lai lai ya la 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 lai. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha netar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei feleh. Nora tehilot osei feleh. Malchutecha ra'u banecha. Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze'elianu ve'amru. Ze'elianu ve'amru. Adonai ilach le'olam va'ed. Adonai ilach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Ya lai la lai lai. Yai lai ya la lai. Yai la lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai.
May we always feel protected in the shadow of your wings. For blessed are you, O God, whose shelter of peace spreads over us, over all people, over Jerusalem. The top of page 34 as we join together. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Lechaim.
There are times when it's just only a few words that really make a difference in understanding what is Shabbat. And when we think about it, Achad Ha'am, the great poet, author, wrote the words, more than Israel has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept Israel. When you think about that and you think all the people are trying to observe Shabbat, but has that held us together? I think for our community, it's more Shabbat has brought us together as a larger group. More than Israel has kept Shabbat, the Shabbat has kept Israel together, which is all of us. And that's why on our prayer page 36 at the bottom of the page, for Vishamru, it's the first time where we talk about in 6 days the Lord created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested. We join together, page 36.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Bein yuvein v'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash, Shabbat vaynafash. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam.
Are we going live?
We've been live.
Okay. Well, the Birkat HaGomel prayer expresses our gratitude for the miracle of healing and the full restoration of one's health. Health to family, friends, and of course, full restoration to life itself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam hagomel l'chayavim tovot shegimelani kol tov. May God, who bestowed kindness upon us, continue to bestow every goodness upon each of us and restore us to health. Well, those in our community who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a person in your life who's in need of healing, in just a moment, please feel free to share their name aloud as we move about the sanctuary. The top of page 38 as we join together. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
We keep in our thoughts and prayers Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Susan Coburn, Greg Cohen, Linda Cullen, Peter Cook, Lynn and Michael Deutschman, Barbara Finkelstein, Barry Goldberg, Deborah Goldman, Randy Goldman, Donald Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Judith Landau, Pam Lessing, Renee Myers, Pedro Prince, Stephen Reese, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Patty Silverstein, Lauren Solomon, Dina Stempler, Liz Stern, Max Strauss, Alan Tenenbaum, Tammy Trow, and Mickey Woniker.
Crystal Lampier and Kathy Day.
Thank you.
Bert Solomon.
Bert.
Joe Juneau.
Bailey Silverman, Daphne Silverman, Lamentations.
Okay.
Sheila Gaskin. Steve Lazarus. Kathy Rose.
Misheperach imotenu mekor habracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn to page 40 and rise as we continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkada ve'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra kirutei ve'amlich malchutei.
B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael b'agala uv'izman karib.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Yesh Rabba Mivarach Le'alam Elameo Maya Yitbarach.
Yitzbarach v'yishtabach. Yitpar v'yitrom v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal. Shemei dekudsha.
Brechu
Le'elamim kol birchata v'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran Bialma.
Ve'imeru.
Amen. Be not afraid of silence. It's more powerful than the unpolished word. It allows God's voice to be heard and allows tears and doubt to tumble out. We continue the top of page 42.
Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Adonai svatai tiftach. Ananana ofi yagid. Ofi yagid tehilatecha.
We continue silently, pages 42 through 57. You may be seated when you've completed the Amida. May God who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel, and all who inhabit the earth. The bottom of page 54, our prayer for peace, Shin Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha.
Well, there's a very interesting midrash, which is the way the rabbis expanded upon stories in the Bible by telling stories that are not found within the Bible. It says in the book of Genesis that Noah was perfect in his generation. Now, in rabbinical school, we are always taught to pay attention to the smallest of words found in the Bible. We would spend an entire class discussing the word haya, the word was, and then discover, when studying the word, that there were 5 people in the Bible for whom the word haya was used. And each of them went from playing the cards that they were dealt, so to speak, and then saw a major change in the world. Just the word haya for an hour class. Now, I dare not talk about this with Shimon here because he knows the whole Bible by heart, so I apologize. But these are the 5 that we found in our class. The first one was Noah. Noah, as we know, he and his family emerged from the ark, and he was not the same person who entered the ark. He saw the world changed, and that was his Hayah, what was and now what is. The second person where we find the word Hayah is Joseph, sold to his brothers by slave traders, ends up becoming, of course, the Prince of Egypt, and changed who he was and the world for himself and the Jewish people. The third person where we find the word Hayah is Moses. As a younger man, we find that Hayah, he had fled to Egypt to save his life, and he signified a major turn in events in the world of who he was and who he was later to become, and then everything that happened after that was the beginning of the Jewish people. Our fourth person where they talk about the word Hayah was Job. He saw terrible tragedy and lost everything. That's who he was until God returns everything to him, changes his world in a very positive way with new insights to new life. The fifth time, and there's probably 6, 7, and 8, which we didn't talk about, but the fifth time we find the word Hayah is in the book of Esther describing Mordecai. He was supposed to have been hanged, but instead Mordecai becomes that major force for change in ancient Persia, again changing the world as what was to the world that was to be. And that was it. In class, we closed our Tanakh, we put our Bibles away, and we were all so satisfied that we had exhausted all the possible research into that one little word, Hayah, was. And that was a fun class. Now, I looked around at the other students and our professor, and I thought to myself, so what does this exercise possibly have to do with my life? I was kind of that rebellious student at rabbinical school, but I found it hard to accept the biblical text just for the sake of study. So after thinking it over, I went just down the block, got a cup of chock full of nuts coffee. This is before Starbucks days. And what I had gotten out of that 1 hour class of Hayah was that change is inevitable. Now, there are some say that, well, I don't do change. But what I learned from the simple word was, what was does not have to be my future. What I was in the past does not inevitably control my life. And I've learned over the years that there's so many more, but at least 3 things that you cannot change. No matter how hard you try, the first is our words. It's what we say. Because after it's said, once it leaves our lips, it's out there forever. The next thing that we can't change is the moment, because after we miss that moment, we can't ever get it back. And finally, from the many that I've looked at, but this is the third that I found to be so important, is time. After it's gone, we realize how we spent or how we wasted it. And now it's gone. So we can do a number of things. If we look at our world that was, we have to look at it as a light of opportunity instead of disappointment and failure. Now Noah, he saw his world as it changed, but he couldn't handle it after he comes out of the ark. He grew himself a vineyard, made himself some wine, and then the Bible says he drank just a little too much after surviving the flood. On the other hand, Joseph, well, sold into slavery by his brothers, he seized upon that opportunity of what was, which changed not only his own personal world of what was, but Egypt's world as well. And that world of the budding Jewish people that then went on. Job trusted in God, and a new world opened up for him. What was became a beautiful future. Moses had to run from being the prince of Egypt, and he set up his life as a shepherd in Midian. But he would be called to return to Egypt to change the world of what was, and with it, world history. So Mordecai, well, we all know his story because we come here for Purim, but he was picked on and ridiculed as a Jew and ended up making a whole new world for the Persian people. They tried to kill him and all the Jewish people, but he showed what was not going to be his future. So how much we have to ask ourselves, has our world changed perhaps in the last 10 or 20 years? But even more so, how much has our world changed even this last year and a half? How much have we changed? How much have we changed with what feels like this new world that's now in front of us? So the world of last year, I'd like to say, is Haya. It's a world that once was. And those 5 examples from our tradition, I think, teach us that we now have an opportunity to live in a whole new world, the world that's right in front of us. And the important lesson is that we don't have to be a biblical hero to do it. If you haven't taken our little bulletin, please do so. We want to thank Shimon for being here this evening, and for the 9 of you that made reservations, thank you all very much. We were up at 7 this morning, not up at 7. We were standing at the doors of Whole Foods 7 o'clock this morning in Denver, shopping for what we would think would last 3-4 weeks worth of food. We got every falafel ball they owned and everything else. There's nothing left. So I'm glad that we got as much as we did for all of you to be able to come and join us this evening. And my thanks to Janet for the full grocery cart that we had, schlepping it then back. Last night we were at the Navy SEAL Foundation Gala, where they recognize many of the Navy SEALs, and also it's a way of supporting their families. So we were able to be there last night, and then we went with some of our members, and then came back again this morning. This evening's Shabbat service was sponsored by Marty and Karen Soslin. They're out of Dallas. They weren't able to be with us. Hopefully they're watching. And we were so grateful for them to be able to help sponsor this evening's Kiddush and the streaming for our service tonight. We have, tomorrow is our bar mitzvah that we have here within the chapel. But next week is our mountaintop service. And I keep looking ahead. I look at the phone to check the weather. So far, I know it could change, but it looks like it's going to be great weather. So we look forward to having many of you join us up on top of the mountain August 14th, a week from this Saturday. We have a CPR certification class that's going to take place for our members. We know how important that is. One of our members, just a few weeks ago, had a heart attack at E-Town. And because there were people trained at E-Town, knew what to do, kept him alive, shocked him back to life, and the fire department came and continued on. So we thought it's just as important. We've got the little machine just outside the door, but many people would not know what to do. So there's a certification class, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock on August 19th. It's for reservations. You just go on our regular reservation site. Please join us. So important that we know how to do that. Our book Chavarah, August 26th, I'm just going down a few of the highlights here, is with Ni Aronheim. I'm not sure that's how we pronounce her name. But she wrote a book called Souls of a Survivor. She lives in Denver, member of the Hebrew Education Alliance, and we're going to be having her Zoom in with us. And we're grateful for that as well. And before you leave, I want to thank you. You dropped off some books for us. And we're really grateful for having that. We have a Geniza at our cemetery.
One of them is for you.
Well, I won't bury it then. But I know you had a lot of Hebrew books. If it's a book that's a prayer book, you don't throw those away. So part of having a cemetery, and we talked about this, which was wonderful, that we'll have one place, once a year, we'll open it. We'll be able to place the prayer books respectfully in. And I saw those at my door, so I appreciate you bringing those by. I'll pull out the one book so I don't bury the book you tried to give me. And for good health as well. We wish you only good health for both of you. So thank you for dropping that off. School.
I have an exciting new announcement about our school program. I was meeting at the Vail the Edwards Interfaith Chapel just a few days ago with the new headmaster of Stone Creek Charter School, which uses that space, and some representatives from the Presbyterian Church who also uses that space on Sunday mornings. And the Presbyterians are no longer using one of those classrooms that they had used in the past, and we have a new classroom, and we are starting a new class for ages 3 and under on Sunday mornings. And so we have our first official Melody Makers class with Cantor Michelle on Sunday mornings. If you know anyone with babies and toddlers that would like a program to join, we now officially have one that we have.
Is it okay? Good. High Holy Days, of course, are coming. If you'd like to check the schedule for joining us the High Holidays at the Gerald Ford Amphitheater, please, we'd like you to be able to join with us. We okay? Okay. We'll return to our prayer books now. Page 60 as we rise and join together, Elena. Elena Shabeach Ladon Hakol Latet Gedula Leotzer Bereshit Shalom Asanu Kigaye Aratzot Velo Samanu Kimishvakot Adama Shalom Sam Chalkenu Kahem Vehoraleinu Kechol Amonam Vanachnu Korim Umishtachavim Umodim Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'ne'emar V'hayo Adonai V'melech al kol ha'aretz V'yom hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'shemo Echad. At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance. A link has been broken in the chain that bound us together. Yet strong bonds of home and love hold us together one to another. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Adele Abrams, Mark Albert, Charles Barrison, Jack Valen, Shirley Belcher, Jules Braunstein, Ruth Cohen, Helen Cohn, Cantor Stephen Duboff, Richard Eisel, Lillian Ettinger, Irving Fielden, Beatrice Fliegelman, H. Mitchell Fox, Bernice Doris Garland, Max Gelfand, Ada Goldman, Fred Goldsmith, Florence Goldstein, Harris Herman, Emil Hess, Eileen Joseph, Linda Kahn, Soramini Kalachurim, Saul Kaufman, Susan Kaufman, Dorothy Keller, Kitty Kopolovich, David Landau, Sylvia Lantzman, Arthur Langsam, Paul Lessing, Leo Levy, Samuel Levine, Philip Leibovitz, Ermi Lindfield Heller, Florian Linz, Beverly Lopatin, William Benjamin Marks, Bernard Melvin Shapiro, J. George Mitnick, Robert Morris, Sarah Mossman, Claire Numeroff, Dorothy Nurek Landau, Erwin Raymer, Lillian Rosenblatt, Leah Rothenberg, Judy Schechner, Ernest Scheller III, Morris Shore, Erwin Schweib, Edwin Aaron Schwartz, Murray Shane, William Sigmund, Donald Steinberg, Thelma Stempel, Leonard Stern, Margaret Stringer, Richard Swig, Edith Swirsky, Pauline Wolf, and Julius Wolfen. And if anyone else is observing yahrzeit this month. Thank you. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found in our prayer books on page 64, and those who wish may join with me as we say, Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav v'zman kariv v'mramen, Yehesh me Rabba mevarach leolam omeomaya, Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitzhadar v'yithaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'rechu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yalma v'mramen, Yehesh lama Rabba min shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'mramen. Oseh shalom v'mromav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'mramen. You may be seated. This is the first time for our yahrzeit list that we've gone to 3 pages. So I remember C.J. Tenner what used to say, when the names are no longer read, the people are no longer remembered. Though we're at 3 pages, we'll continue to be reading the names, and we have about 700 to 800 we read during, well, Phil, you do. But we read those after Yisker services. So it's pretty amazing how much we have grown in numbers, and also by you being able to tell us whose yard site you're going to be observing. And then we've also run out of room. When you look at this, for those of you that are part of the program that we call the Pillar Program, supporting the congregation, we just keep shrinking the font from 10 to 9 to 8, and eventually we'll just keep filling the page. But thank you all for your participation today. You got to be silent a couple times and let them just do their own singing.
It's my favorite thing ever. I can hear my own voice anytime I want to, but it's really special to be able to hear all of you joining together.
And the Shabbos bells tell us that it's time for Adon Olam.
And what tune should we try for Adon Olam this evening?
Probably some Israeli tune in honor of Shimon, huh?
Some Israeli tune.
The regular one.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'chefso kol azay malach shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot kol לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה ותפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להבשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי צורכי בלי ביצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי בנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אבקיר רוחי בעת תשען ועירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא ירא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל זי מלך שמו נקרא עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
And I mentioned at the beginning of the service, Shimon, before you came in, that we were usually saying thank you to you. We send you home with something wonderful. Instead, you gave this to us. So please come up and hold our new Kiddush cup that you brought from Jerusalem. Thank you very much. And candlesticks. And we'll all rise for a closing blessing. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai avarech et amo v'shalom. May the Lord grant strength unto his people. Bless all peoples with peace. And we join in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avot.
There is wine and challah for everyone outside. Shabbat Shalom.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam.
I need a flavor.
A flavor, yes.
They are for you.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam.